already forgot something. Hello everyone, and welcome to Talking Over Tea. In today's video, we wanted to share with you our camping vlog. We went camping for a week, and we just kind of videoed every day, just some of the things that we were doing, and we wanted to talk a little bit about the books that we read. We each read some of the books from our vacation TBR, and now we're just going to talk a little about those books. So I first read 100 Cupboards by Indy Wilson. This was actually not on my TBR, but I was already reading it before we left for our trip, so I just decided to finish it up. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars, and I thought it was a really good middle grade book. It was interesting. It was about Henry, who goes to live with his aunt and uncle, and he finds these cupboards in his room, and he kind of has to try to figure out what they do, and all these like bad things started to happen. I thought it was really good, and I'm excited to read the next books. Then I read Ella Enchanted. I also gave this book 4 stars. I really liked it. It was a lot better than the movie. I really liked Ella. I usually don't like the spunky, rebelling characters very much, but she felt a little different, and I liked her more than most main characters. I read it pretty quickly, and it was fun, and I am excited to read the next book too.
The first book I read was Tomorrow When the War Began by John Marsden, and I gave it 2 stars. This was a very disappointing book to start the trip off with, and I had a lot higher expectations, and they were just not met at all. So this book is about a bunch of teens living in Australia who decide to go on a camping trip, and when they come home, they find that everyone is gone, and basically like World War III has started, and their town has been invaded. So I kind of was expecting this to be like kind of a unique, original story with, I don't know if like intelligent characters, but just kind of different. Not your super typical YA book, and it was just not like that at all. It was super typical, and I just did not care for any of the characters or any of the plot elements, and not a whole lot really happened. It was pretty boring. And yeah, I skimmed a lot of it and was just not impressed.
Oh, it's pouring! Whoa.
How was it?
It's so cold. So then I read When We Were Very Young by A.A. Milne. This is the third book in the Winnie the Pooh series, and it is actually a book of poetry, which I did not realize until I started reading it. I thought this was just going to be another Winnie the Pooh book, just like the other two, and I just needed something that was really easy to read, so I really liked it. It had all the drawings, and it was just a fun little book to read.
Next I read If I Run by Terry Blackstock, and I gave this 4 stars. This was a really quick and easy read, and I really ended up enjoying it. This was about basically going on the run and changing your identity, and I liked the characters in the plot, but I wasn't overly amazed by any of it, so it was a good, solid 4-star book, but it didn't go beyond that. I was engaged in the story, but it didn't make me feel a whole lot or think a whole lot about things, but I enjoyed it as a good source of entertainment that would buy quickly.
I read Coral by Sarah Ella. This is a book that is mainly focusing on mental health, and it's not really something that I read very often. It starts off in the point of view of a mermaid named Coral, and we have 2 other points of view, Brooke and Merrick. This is one thing that I was very confused by, and I really had no idea what was happening. I don't know if that was just because I was stupid and couldn't figure it out, or if it was a plot twist, so I won't say what it is, but if you read it, I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. It was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. It might be more of a 3.5 for me. It was a good book. It was written well. The romance was okay. And it talked a lot about mental health and suicide and depression. And so it's a heavy book, but I thought it was written well, and it wasn't really my thing, but I still thought it was a good book.
Lastly, I read The Shepherd of the Hills by Harold Bell Wright. I gave this book 4 stars. I really ended up enjoying it. I was right in thinking that it was a very nature kind of book, and it really made me want to appreciate nature more and get out into it and enjoy it. But like I said, it was kind of what I was expecting, but there was also a lot more in it as well. The characters were fairly simple, but they still really invited you into the story and made you want to get to know them. It was a little bit heavier than I was expecting it to be. There were some kind of troubled characters, and it is about this guy who comes to the Ozark Mountains into this little town, and they kind of adopt him into the society, and everyone looks up to him and goes to him for advice, and he becomes the shepherd to this one family, and you don't know a whole lot about him and his past, but as the book goes on, you kind of start to see that he has been keeping some things to himself and how there has to be forgiveness and acceptance towards him. I ended up really liking it for what it was, and I'm glad that I read it, even if I might not read it again.
And the last book I read was The Prisoner of Zenda by Anthony Hope. This was about an Englishman named Rudolph who went to the fictional land of Ruritania, and he apparently looked exactly the same as the king who was about to be crowned. So a bunch of things happen, and somehow he is pretending to be the king. and it was just really fun. And the whole time I was like, this is just like an Adventures in Odyssey episode. It's the same plot as this Adventures in Odyssey episode, and that's kind of what I was thinking the whole time. But it was just a fun book. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't amazing, but it helped me remember what I like about classic literature and just how it's different from more modern literature. And it's kind of a good book to get back into classics if you've not read them for a while, because it's pretty short and it's easy to read. But yeah, if you want to listen to the Adventures in Odyssey episode, it is called An Act of Nobility.
So that was everything that we read on our camping trip. We didn't actually read as much as we were expecting to. We read a lot on the days that we read, but at least for the first 3 days, I didn't really read at all, because those were kind of our busiest times to do activities, and after that we read a lot, but I was expecting to read more and was a little disappointed that I didn't. Overall, I think we had a pretty good reading experience, and we just had a good trip, and it was nice to just relax and read a lot and be out in nature. We hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in our next post.